Hello, welcome to Robert and Patty's weekly video chat. I'm going to bring up a presentation here to share with you. And today I'm going to talk about portfolios. So building and displaying a portfolio that attracts clients. So let me start by talking about what a portfolio entry is, because a portfolio is just a place to put portfolio entries, which is a sample of your work. It's a document or graphic that highlights the quality of your work. It can be a sanitized copy of something you created from work, or it can be something that you create specifically to highlight a service that you can offer. It generally includes an overview that explains the context of how it was created and how it helped the client. Your portfolio then is a set of your portfolio entries or samples. You actually have multiple portfolios. You should have one in your main portfolio. These are samples that highlight your primary services. Now, one gotcha here is this is not a place to show awards. This is a place to show samples. You can also have samples or portfolio entries in your specialized profile. In this case, you use samples that go with the services that are in your specialized profile. So if you have a very technical service in your specialized profile, you would include a sample that's more detailed than you would want to put in your normal general profile. Now, you also have an offline portfolio. These are profile entries that you use to put into proposals. So a lot of times when you're doing a proposal, it may have a specific need or niche that you can have a sample for. So you want to keep track of all your offline portfolio entries as well. The portfolio entry should be relevant to your client's needs. It should communicate and deliver effectively and professionally. It should show clear, result-oriented work. And the big thing is can show that you can do the work. So you want to demonstrate how you do that work. The components of a profile entry are the title. This should be clear and focused on the client's outcome, preferably with searchable keywords. You want to put it into a title page that can be turned into a graphic. So this usually means a colored background or an image that goes with it, but you want it to be visible as a thumbnail in your portfolio. You want to have a project description. This describes the client need or the problem that you solved with this particular sample. You want to talk a little bit about what your role was in your approach, and then what results were achieved. If you have numbers, that's great. Some people think that way, and it's always helpful to have numbers when you're talking about results. Any client feedback that you had, you can include that. And then you want to have skills and tags that match to the high quality keywords so that it's easy to find in a search. You also want to include then some visuals of the actual sample. This is a subset of your work. It's not the entire document. It can include screenshots, document snippets, or graphics. You want to limit it to a couple of pages. You don't want to have War and Peace, page after page. Clients don't have time to look through that. So a lot of times the best way to do it is do screenshots of your work rather than actual samples. You want to make sure that any client references you had are removed, especially if this is work you did for a client. You want to make sure you don't include names of their locations and stuff like that, unless you have written permission to show it. In that case, it's fine. So, what are some best practices and tips? You want to focus on specific relevant work. So, this is relevant to the services that you're offering. You want to focus on quality, not quantity. Quantity doesn't help at all. Clients don't have time to go through it. Tailor each entry to the clients that you want to attract. So you want to think about your clients and create a sample that if you were that client, you would want to look at. As I said before, you want to have a graphic title page that shows as a thumbnail. You want to use a narrative structure in your description. This helps a lot. Talk about the problem, what action you took, and then the result. Keep the visual simple and readable, and update it regularly to reflect recent work. You don't want to have something that's 5 years old in your portfolio, unless it's relevant to the service that you do. Some common mistakes to avoid. Overloading portfolios. Some people get started and they just put entry after entry, and if they're all the same, they don't add anything. So you want to keep it up to date and focused. You want to avoid using jargon, and particularly if you work for a big company, remember that buzzwords that might have been everyday words in your workspace may not mean anything to anybody else because they're shorthand that your company used and they're not industry-wide. You want to avoid generic descriptions. Highlight what made your work unique. You want to avoid poor quality visuals. Yeah, you definitely want to make sure you avoid broken links. I would say you want to avoid links altogether. When you have a link in there, you're taking the client away from looking at your work and into somewhere else. I mean, even if you have a web page that you did, screenshots of that web page is generally better than a link to the page. If you do have a link, put it at the very end and make sure it keeps current. Ignoring the SEO value of titles and tags. So, when we talk about SEO, all that is are keywords that people use to search. So you want to think when you're writing in your tags and in your headers, what search things that the client would search on, and make sure those keywords are there. So here's a sample of one it's not too bad. It has a title page that looks good as a thumbnail. It's got a description of the problem that was solved, and a description of how the problem or how the item helped the client. And then it includes some sanitized screenshots from the deliverables. And it doesn't include all the screenshots, just the samples. Here's another one that's not bad. This is for somebody who wanted to show off proofreading, and they're creating a sample. So they showed the proofreading that they did with track changes turned on. This allows them to demonstrate the changes they actually did. Most of the time, people, when they create this kind of sample, will do a before and after. So the before might have the track changes, and then the after shows a clean copy that the client can read. Here's another example, a sample of a newsletter. It's not the entire newsletter, it's snippets from the newsletter. So what are some poor ones? Here's one where the freelancer, all they did was have pictures of books that they proofread and then feedback from the client. They never showed how they did the work, and it's all repetitive. It's all the same thing. That's not going to help a client. Here's another one where they had 8 items, again, all the same, and that it simply showed the client feedback. Um, this didn't tell them what they did or how they did it, just the feedback. And if they want to see feedback, they can go and see it when they're looking at your work history. So you don't want to just use feedback. So final thought, your portfolio is an opportunity to show the quality of the work that you can do. So you want to make it effective and relevant. So we'll see you in our next video. Patty's going to talk about using online communities to help you in your freelancing work. So have a great week.